I'm 69. Oh my, I tell you, when I was young, I used to think 50 was old. I used to think 60 was old. 69, I think it is kind of old, but I get good haircut. I pay good money for my haircut. And I color my hair and all that. And the reason why I color my hair, I tell you, a few years ago, I had stopped coloring my hair and I looked completely different person. And I took Mina shopping and I said, try this jewelry. And she said, nah, I don't want it. And I said, no. I told the shopkeeper, I said, take it out of your case. I said, just put it on, see how you like it. And she says, no, I don't want it. I said, no, try the other one. The shopkeeper looks at Mina and says, your daddy is insisting so much. Why aren't you buying it? I went home and I colored my hair. As I get older, I have figured out a way not to feel old. And because I love you guys so much, without charging you anything, I'm going to share my secret. I really don't feel old at all in my heart. And you guys have seen me walking in the plant, and I don't walk like a 68-year-old or 69 today. And I don't feel 69. And the reason is that I have figured out that as long as I keep acquiring new knowledge, that I will feel young. So I read a lot. I read many manuals and I try new software and I read books and I acquire new knowledge. And when you acquire new knowledge, it sort of humbles you. You realize how many bright people are out there in the world. And as you keep learning, you feel young. So that is my secret. Now, I reflect a lot, and at my age, I have a license to reflect. In my younger years, I met many people who left quite an impression on me. I learned from my bosses, and I learned from people who worked for me. In 1982, I had just become director of R&D, and I occupied the same office that Subra has. When I needed to hire new engineers, I searched hard to find people who were not just bright, but brilliant. I wanted to find people who were brighter than me. I was a very analytical person, but not at all a hands-on person. I knew my neighbor. One time I needed a special water jet nozzle which can cut hole underneath a walkway. So I go knock on his door and I say, do you have, and before I finish my question, he said, yes. I said, but you don't know what I need. He says, I have 2 of everything. What do you need? He wasn't kidding. He showed me his workshop. He had would you believe, a lathe and a milling machine in his garage. He had a compressor in his basement. And he had a permanent airline connections so that he could connect his air equipment at various points. So in 1983, I asked Doug, my neighbor, to come and work for me. That was one of the best things I did in my life. I learned from him that if you have a theory, build a quick prototype and verify it. Improvise. If you need to build a powder delivery system for 80 psi, but cannot find a seal that is rated for 80 psi, test it at 20 psi while you look for a seal for 80 psi. Above all, just try something and continue to move forward. Doug and I worked on many projects. He designed our 6500 AJM unit. He and I designed our first TTR measurement unit. Doug had a crazy sense of urgency. If I gave a project to build a prototype for something, he would order material for that project that day. When I reviewed his purchases, I saw that he was buying many things from California. where there were vendors in New Jersey. So I called him in my office. I said, how come you are buying from California vendors? He said, you know, sometimes by the time I'm ready to place an order, it is after 4 o'clock and New Jersey vendors have closed for the day. Since I'm getting it overnight anyway, it comes faster if I buy it from California. That's a good logic. I had given a project of solving the issue of static electricity in AJM to one of my engineers. Doug would remember his name, George Zikas. And George worked on that project for months. Good engineer, but not a practical one. So one day I called Doug and George in my office. I said, George, you need help. He says, no, I don't think so. I said, yes, you do. And I said, Doug, work with George. That was at 10 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, the problem was solved. George came to my office next day. He says, I think you're going to fire me. I said, no, I'm not going to fire you. But that is the kind of creativity and sense of urgency Doug had. I have so many stories about Doug, but I will tell you the one that changed me forever. Doug and I were neighbors. One day I was going to a video store to rent a VHS tape. I asked Doug if he wanted to come with me, just to give me company. In the store, I was carefully selecting the tape I wanted to rent because it was a $3 investment. I would look at the back and read the review and say, you know, am I going to like this video? While I'm doing all that, I see Doug standing near the cash register. He has a bag in his hands. So I went there. I said, what did you do? He says, I became a member, $15 membership. I purchased one tape and I have rented 3. I said, 3 tapes? You have only tomorrow to see. How are you going to watch 3 tapes? He says, no, tomorrow is Sunday. We can watch 3 tapes. I said, but if you can't, there is a late fee of $2. So Sunday at 6 p.m., I was going to Palmer Video in Middlesex Mall. I knocked on Doug's door and I said, do you want to return those tapes? So he hands me 2. He said, Kathy and I are watching the 3rd one. I still have 3 hours. You go ahead, return these 2 tapes. I will return the 3rd tape by 9 o'clock. So I went, returned his tapes, my tapes. I went home, we were having dinner. I asked Meena at 9 o'clock, what do you think? Doug went to return his tape or not? So we had a $2 bet, Meena and I. Next day I called Doug in my office. I said, Meena and I have a bet. Did you go to return the tape? Now, by the way, previous night it was already snowing lightly. So Doug said, of course not. Then he said, I asked myself, if I had not rented this tape at all, but at 9 p.m., someone called me and said, change your clothes, put on your shoes, clean the snow off windshield of your car, and drive to Middlesex Mall, and I will give you $2. Would I have gone for that $2? And the answer was no. Then why go to return the tape to save $2? That was the weirdest logic I had ever heard in my life. Yet it made so much sense. I realized for the first time that I should value my time more than anything else. I should focus on making more money, not saving more money. Knowing Doug and Kathy, Meena and I became different people. I have thanked him for many times, and today I want to thank him in front of all of you, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Doug Shipman.